Hello, I'm a Nostalgia Critic. I remembered so you don't have to.
Hi. I'm a fan? Do you want to, like, come in, or... Would you like to sit down? Is that a new hat?
Yeah, I want to be in the show.
I mean, I'd love for you to be on the show, but we have a 3-person limit this week, so I guess the only way you could be on is if you, like, killed Milan.
Mm-hmm. Deal.
Sorry, sir, you can't have that on here.
Oh, no. It's okay. I'm from the internet. Why didn't you give me a beer, Sugar Tits?
Oh, Nostalgia Critic! How'd it go?
So, Mr. Nostalgia Critic Man, you have come here to try and murder me. Well, you are perfectly welcome to try, but before you do, come here. I have something to show you. It's gonna take a lot to take broken puppies. Broken legs and puppies. Unfortunately, I may have some problems with pantry doors. And you want to see my bad credit card? Come look.
Fuck your show!
Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Zazibar, and joining me, as always, are my particularly malicious and despicable specks of humanity, Ian and Milan. Ian and Milan, say hi.
Ouch!
Hi.
Damn!
Wow.
Bill's coming out. Kitty's got claws, man.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed, man. Like, golly, you just outdid Ian for a second there. Good for you.
Well, that is my goal in life, is to
I just wasn't expecting it.
Okay, for every Milan, there it was. It was just there at the beginning of the podcast. You're gonna hear it when I put the video online.
And then you can watch it and be embarrassed and cry yourself to sleep.
That's the plan.
For everyone that's wondering, that noise, we don't know what's causing it, but it's on Milan's end, so just blame him.
Yes, it has something to do with radio signals, but who cares? Science is unimportant. Because today, on this episode of Geeky Gentlemen, I got to pick the topic, and I decided, well, it was an idea topic week, so I decided to pick an idea that, has been kind of lingering in the back of my mind, you know, as we've been doing this show, is something I've wanted to talk about with you guys, because it's a really, really big factor in what we do, reviews, and just talking about pop culture topics and geeky topics. And that, of course, would be the topic of nostalgia.
Yes.
Now, nostalgia is, of course, an extremely broad idea, but we're of course, very used to talking about broad ideas in the show, so I think we can do it some kind of justice. Now, since it is such a broad topic, I want to kind of outline where my thoughts were going as where I think we should take this discussion, or at least where we should start. I mainly want to talk about, at least at the beginning, you know, how nostalgia impacts how we view a movie or a game or something that we, let's say, okay, I'm going to use an example. Let's say you're digging through a box that you find in your closet, and it's a box of old video games from like the previous system you had before you got the system you have now. And you find this game, and you look at it and you go, I remember that, and then you just stare at the cover for a few minutes and you remember all those times you spent playing it, those late nights, those rainy afternoons, the time you spent with your friends playing it. That to me is one of the pinnacle moments of nostalgia. And I think to a certain degree with nostalgia, there has to be a yearning to go back to that. You want to relive that experience because, and I don't really know why. But you guys ever get that feeling? You look at something like an old game or an old movie that you remember watching, and you just want to go back to that old time when you saw it for the first time or you played it for the first time. You guys ever have that?
Let me answer that with what my main thoughts are going to be. Yes, I've had that, and nostalgia today is dead, because the whole point of nostalgia was that you couldn't go back because it wasn't around, or even if it was incredibly expensive. Nowadays, you can go back to so much, and you realize how bad it was in, you know, from a modern context. The perfect example for this is I think Netflix and the internet killed nostalgia for me, because I was watching, when I was very young, a show that was on in the early 90s called Street Sharks.
Oh my god!
That show is on Netflix, and for those that don't know, Street Sharks, imagine everything that was awful about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon from the 90s, multiplied 1,000-fold. It's just all bad catchphrases and science that doesn't make any sense, and it's stupid teenagers and, you know, hangouts and vehicles and stuff like that. And, like, I remember loving that show as a kid. I had, like, so many of the toys. I thought it was so cool. You know, I loved Street Sharks. I was always like, Jawsome and, you know, Shark Attack and stuff like that. And then I watched the first 3 episodes on Netflix. And it is bad!
Yeah, but to me, the thing with nostalgia, and I'm gonna disagree with you to a kind of a big degree, I don't think you can ever kill nostalgia, because to me nostalgia is not the fact that you haven't seen it in a long time necessarily. It's going back to a certain time in your life when you experienced that. To me, nostalgia, if we're talking about entertainment, that entertainment had to come at a crucial moment in my life where for me experiencing that entertainment tied in somehow to what was going on in my life. I think a good example of this, and this is going to sound weird, but I have a ton of nostalgia, and the game I was really talking about with that little example I gave, Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie. Now, despite what you think of the game, I haven't played it in years, but just because, you know, I don't have it anymore. But
you get to play as a giant monkey. What's not to like?
Well, no, that's not my point. But it's like that game came out at a time where, what was that?
8 Milan 8.
Yeah, Milan.
I will prostrate myself. I will prostrate myself for this horrible, unforgivable mistake. Forgive me, Lord Monkey.
Good. Anyway, so yeah, I have that's probably one of my go-to examples for nostalgia, and it's not because I haven't played it in a long time. I think it's because it came out during that certain time in my life where I was really getting into experiencing geeky things. Like, I was getting into video games. I was getting deeper into movies. This, of course, came out at the same time as the remake of King Kong. And being a kid who grew up with King Kong and monster movies, seeing such a big deal made out of this movie, really, it struck a chord with me. I think that that's part of the reason why I have such fond memories of the game and the movie, or at least the time when it came out. So I don't know if it's necessarily I haven't played it in a long time. It's more of I remember those specific times when I played it, and I wish I could go back to that. I don't know. It's appealing to me in the life I'm living now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the thing with nostalgia is that it's not really like the thing itself. It's more when you experience things as a kid, the magic of the thing that you're doing is still there. You still have that kind of, you know, minty fresh, like brand new type of comic book feel. You know, when you open up a new comic book, you smell that. But when you do something that's really kind of cool as a kid, like you read your first comic book, you play your first, you know, PS1 game or something like that. When you do something first, that particular thing will forever be cemented in your mind as like the greatest thing ever. The first thing you play, in your heart of hearts, you will love that no matter how, you know, cynical and, you know, fucking angry you might be in the future. At that moment,
Talking to me or something?
no, I'm just talking general, because I used to play Spyro games, like, you know, Spyro 1, Spyro 2.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Spyro was my shit, nigga!
indeed, motherfucker. Spyro for life. But anyway, I remember playing Spyro in Moscow with my mom and my cousin. And then when we moved to Australia, we took the PlayStation 1 with us, and then we got Spyro 2 and 3 and whatever. And just for me, some say like the game Spyro, the first one, it's a little bit plain looking. It's a little bit, you know, a little bit like, you know, it's just a little dragon running around. But for me, I like it better than any other Spyro game. It's just like, yes. Well, the first three.
Well, the reason you like it better is because colors in Moscow, they're a completely new thing to you.
Oh, definitely. That's a thing, yeah.
Running joke.
Well,
Everything was gray and shit, but
Just in Moscow, there is no color. Like, just in Russia is all in black and white. There is no color in Russia except for red, and that's like, it's like Sin City. It's just when people are bleeding, that's the only time there's color.
It's red and it's really dark green, or at least that's the way GoldenEye presents it. No, but Milan, I think your little anecdote there is the perfect example of how nostalgia impacts your view of a form of entertainment, in your case a game. It's that your playing of that game has such a stigma attached to it of what was going on in your life at the time, and just, you know, the time, you know, the age you were, and everything that was going on in your life was amplified, and you kind of center around playing that game. At least that's how it's coming off to me, because I have things like that. Peter Jackson's comic is a good example of that.
Yeah, you psychologically associate that thing in your mind with childhood.
Yeah, and I want to ask you guys something.
And that actually makes me want to ask a question here. For someone like myself that, you know, as dark and as horrible as I can be, I do consider myself still a child in a lot of different ways. In a deeper level of personality. So that brings an interesting question. Exactly what is nostalgia? Is there a cutoff date, or is there...
No.
What is it tied to?
No, I think it's mainly tied to what's going on in your life at the time, and I think that you're just, you know, it's a series of events that I don't know if there's a cutoff date. I think there is a time span that has to go on. You have to build up a particular appreciation for that time period. But I have a nostalgia for a vacation I had less than 2 years ago. And you know what? You know why I have such nostalgia for it? It was the first time I read Batman R.I.P. and Grant Morrison's Batman stuff. Woo! I don't know why, but it's just that vacation, because I was reading those comics on that vacation, just like got heightened so much, and I look back on it and I'm like, I want to go back to that time where I was sitting in the back of my dad's van reading Grant Morrison's Batman.
Aww, that's so adorable.
And it was only 2 years ago, so it's like, people would be like, that's not nostalgic, that's just, you remember that fondly. I'm like, no, but I think nostalgia is more of, you look back on it through rose-colored glasses is, I think, the best term, because you look on it and you only look at specific points.
Oh,
like,
come on, don't give me a tortured cliche metaphor like rose-colored glasses.
No, I couldn't think of anything else. I'm just saying you look back on it and you only pick out certain points. Like, with nostalgia, the important thing to know with nostalgia is that when you're thinking of nostalgic things, you're not thinking of the whole scenario. You block out everything else. You block out the certain points that you know, were tied to a particular thing, and you remember, I want to go back to those specific points. Cut out everything else.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you want to when you're being nostalgic about something, you don't remember like, oh, I remember playing this one game, but the part where you're I don't know,
throwing the controller across the room and screaming at it, saying I fucking hate this game.
No,
Well,
not that.
That's
not
exactly
that.
the part that you do block out. And then you remember, and I'm just going to go back to Peter Jackson's Kong for a second. I don't really remember the times when I was falling off a cliff as Kong dead, or the times where I got eaten by a V-Rex. But I do remember the first time I took down a V-Rex by myself. I broke its back. I do remember that. You remember the parts that are the most, this is going to sound stupid, but you remember the parts that were the most memorable. The parts where you were triumphant. The parts where you were just like, what's the word? I mean, for a Kong. Yeah, for a kid as a monster movie fan as a kid, it was like me playing as King Kong breaking a dinosaur's back. That's pretty fucking cool. So, you know, I don't remember the times when I was hurling the controller at the wall. I feel like I've done this Kong thing to bits, so I know Milan talked about the Spyro thing, but Ian, I mean, I know you mentioned Street Sharks, but what else are examples of things you have like this deep-rooted nostalgia for?
See, it's the thing is, everything that I've gone back to play, I think nostalgia's dead, personally, because I think nostalgia's dead and the internet killed it. Because every time I go back to play something video game-wise, or I go back and watch something from my childhood, I never enjoy it in the slightest. That being said, something I played to death was Jak 2.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. I love the Jak series. I still have the DVD, like the discs, like Jak 1, Jak 2, and Jak 3. Like, in my drawer right now. I love the games. Oh, God.
See, that's the thing is, though, like, I remember, I went back and I watched, you know, that's one of the interesting things about this unlimited format for YouTube, time-wise, is I went back and watched the Jak and Daxter movie trilogy, right?
Wait, there were movies?
Where someone posted all of the cinematics.
Oh, okay.
And, it's still a good story, and I remember the gameplay being enjoyable, and I bet you if I went and got Jak 2 and played it again, I'd still enjoy it. So I wouldn't really consider that something nostalgic. That's something that I clearly remember being good. Something that I remember enjoying but not remembering why is something much more like Van Helsing, where I went back and I watched it again, and I'm suddenly like, why did I like this? There's nothing good about it, but I still like it for some reason. Or the Street Sharks were like, oh my god, everything in this is bad.
But let me ask you this. Is it the show itself that you're is the show itself the nostalgic, is that the root of the nostalgia, or is it you're watching that show at a certain time of your life? Like, again...
Yeah, I don't remember anything else significant from my life that would have made it enjoyable, except that it was fucking sharks that could talk and fight people. Yeah, and I had the action figures.
Yeah.
That's why I remember liking that show.
Well, I think the action figures might be part of it.
I think it's not the actual thing itself most of the time. I think it's it's not the actual situation where you're in, like when you're a kid, like, oh, happy. It's more of the hold on, what was my point again? God damn it.
I don't know. My guy, Milan, come on now.
Okay,
Your
hold on.
mind is like a complicated puzzle. It's all over the place.
Yes, it takes a while to solve.
And it happens to be broken.
Yes, that's the whole thing.
Pieces missing, it's cracked, and...
Yeah, just masking tape all over it, just like super glue. Anyway, with the crack showing. But anyway, god damn it. Oh yeah, I think it's really more has to do with the...
Oh, and this happens. Is anyone surprised?
None of our listeners are. We're like, we watch this for this now. Like, we just watch it to see when Milan gets interrupted.
Yep, I'd agree with you.
Well, I'd actually like to I think I kind of know where Milan was going with this point, and I don't know, for me, and I think nostalgia is one of those things where you can't give it a generalized definition. I think nostalgia means different things for different people. I think this is kind of a generalized thought that goes with nostalgia. But for me, and for me personally, my view of nostalgia is very rarely the thing itself. It's what was going on when I was doing that thing, and just how that thing impacted me when I was doing these things in my life. Like, you know, just to get away from the Jackson Kong thing, I remember, Huh. See, that's always my go-to example. I'm trying to think of other things now.
Yeah, that's the thing is when you first announced this topic, I had such a hard time. I was like, shit, what am I nostalgic about? And then I was like, wait, shit, yeah, I remember I love Street Sharks. And then I went to watch it. And Bill, fuck you ruined my childhood.
Ian, that's a terrible idea. Why would you do that? Well, okay, I have a perfect example again, and this is more having to do with the time in which it happened. The summer I first saw the Indiana Jones movies. It was actually the summer the fourth movie came out. I don't know why, but the first trailer for the fourth movie hit me somehow. I was like, I want to be a fan of that now. So I spent a good, 2 months just watching everything that had anything to do with Indiana Jones, and I somehow turned myself...
Indiana Jones?
What?
You watched, the young Indiana Jones
I
stuff?
watched what I could. The birth of Netflix was... I think at that point Netflix was around, but it wasn't as, the thing it is now. So, and that is actually on Netflix. But it was still playing on the History Channel, and I caught a few episodes here and there. I saw the movies, obviously. I read some of the books, and most of the books are terrible. I accrued this it's one of those things where I imposed a fandom on myself, and it didn't matter. I still ended up being a fan of it. But it was just that summer. That was the summer I decided to become a filmmaker. So it was just and it wasn't because of Indiana Jones 4, trust me.
But he got inside a refrigerator and survived a nuclear blast.
I know.
How is that not genius?
Is so deep. I think the refrigerator is a symbol for the womb, and the atomic blast the conception of life.
No, the refrigerator is a metaphor for life.
Yeah. So, I don't remember. I obviously remember watching the movies for the first time, but it's not that. It's not just because I enjoyed watching the movies. I go back and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, I still love the crap out of it. But it's not just the fact that I enjoyed it, it's the fact that I was going through this major shift in my life. I was making the change from elementary school to, middle school and then eventually high school. It was a series I became a fan of at a time in my life when I was going through this shift. So I remember it as that movie series I became a fan of while these big, huge things were going on in my life.
Bill, I just had a little mini opinion listening to you there. I think what you're trying to get at is that nostalgia, what you're nostalgic about is what's shaping you as a person for either what you do or what you tend to enjoy in entertainment in general.
Yes, I would say that's accurate.
And I think that's actually surprisingly accurate, because when I think about Street Sharks, it's terrible, but I still have a love for the absurdist, crazy, this shit shouldn't happen, but whatever.
Yeah,
look at my movie.
You see a humanoid shark playing a guitar in that show. I mean...
Yeah, no, but you look at my movie, and there's Batman just magically appearing out of nowhere because it's funny. Obviously, I went for the comedic style of it as opposed to the, let's take this seriously, but, if you look at the things I do, now that I'm thinking about it, I am a big fan of this absurdist, anything can happen comedy. If you look back to what I did with Adventure to Georgetown in 2008, there was a lot of similar things going on. It wasn't to the same scale because we didn't have access to that, but, I've got the script in my back pocket during several scenes, and at one point I actually stand out and read it. And we ripple. We sit there in the shot and jiggle a little bit, and then magically appear in another shot because we're moving in the film.
The magic of special effects.
Oh, it's such a bad effect too. It's just it's seriously a Windows Movie Maker ripple effect dropped onto it.
There's another thing I have nostalgia for is Windows Movie Maker.
Oh god.
Using that for the first time, I was like, I can edit things, and then I got Vegas, and I was like, wow. Or I got the new...
I can't edit. Because, you bitch to me, how do you fucking fade in this thing? It's the easiest thing in the world. You go to the clip and you drag.
It's easier than Windows Movie Maker, because in Windows Movie Maker, you gotta go through menus, and it's limited. It's you can't time it. So it's you just literally, pull it over.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. My dad wanted me to check his blood pressure, you know, massage his feet and rub some arthritis cream on his toes and...
Also suck a dick and go to the moon.
Ian, why?
No.
I mean,
Why?
does he know we're recording? Does he just forget sometimes? It's just like people are out there watching,
Yeah, I know.
and
Ian,
they're sitting
what's
there.
wrong?
They're sitting there having milkshakes and, you know, eating popcorn and having just the time of their lives. And
And then they have to hear about Milan's sad life.
yeah, like Milan, you're
Ian, sorry, Ian and I are the antidote to nostalgia. We destroy it at its core.
No, actually, I'm
No,
gonna,
the
I
internet
don't-
destroys nostalgia.
I don't
No,
think you
actually,
can
that's
destroy
something that you
nostalgia.
haven't commented on. That's something like I think it is worth bringing up. Do you feel that nostalgia can die, or that you can kill something that you were nostalgic for by watching it now and realizing that it's bad?
No, again, because I don't look at the thing as the source of my nostalgia necessarily. I know that sounds weird, but I don't. When I was in, like, I guess I was in 10th grade, went back and watched Power Rangers, you know, yeah, it's not that good of a show. It's cheesy. The acting is...
Non-existent.
And
I don't know if I've said this in a video yet. I know I've said it to you, Bill. My biggest problem with Power Rangers, looking back on it, is who the fuck thought it'd be a good idea to tell kids if you hit someone in the chest with a sword, they're gonna be okay, sparks are just gonna fly off of them. That is terrible!
yeah, I know, and it's like, you're just basically telling kids to go out there and hit each other with swords, and it's okay, sparks are gonna fly out. Isn't that cool? Yeah.
That's what we thought, dude. That's what we thought.
Yeah.
Me and my mom.
That's what happened to my other brother.
I hate the
No, literally, my mom bought us two wushu like fucking fighting swords, and then basically we spent the whole morning and the whole afternoon just fucking fighting, just clashing of blades. These are real fucking things, and he just cut. And by the end of the afternoon, the sun was set. Just the most epic, longest sword battle ever, and then he cut open my knuckle.
Why is it that I am not surprised by this story at all?
It's not finished. It's not finished. The good part
Oh
just happened.
God.
Basically, he cut open my knuckle, and I'm just blood is spurting everywhere. And I'm weird. He's just looking at my wound. I'm looking at him, and we just start laughing. I'm losing blood just ridiculously fast. And then my mom comes out and just like, "What the fuck are you doing?" She takes the swords away. "You will never play with these again." She goes back into the house. I'm standing outside with Miki, my hand still bleeding. 5 minutes later, she comes back out. "Okay, Milan, come put your hand underneath, the drain." "My mom, I think you cut a vein." "Shut up and clean your wounds." Let me finish.
You have nostalgia for that moment? Would you like to...
Let me finish.
Let me
And basically, I went inside. I cleaned my wound. I somehow made it stop bleeding. The next day, my mom said, "Oh, here's your swords back."
Like, here's the thing. I don't know. I know you don't watch much South Park, Bill, but there's one great episode where the kids got ninja weapons, and then it shifts into like an anime style, and they're like giant fucking ninjas, and like they're talking like they're ninjas, and they think they're ninjas specifically because they have the weapons. And then they're getting into a fight with Butters, who's like a super villain. And, you know, they're just, like, it goes in between this cool anime style where, like, they're doing actually kick-ass things with the weapons. And then it goes to, you know, the regular South Park animation. It's just like them spinning around, holding swords and shit, like kids do. But then Kenny, he has the stars, the throwing stars. And he throws one, and it's then that awesome animation style at Butters. And as it goes across the screen, it suddenly wipes and cuts back into the regular style. And Butters just has this giant fucking ninja star just inside his eye socket. And it's like quiet for like 10 seconds. Just nothing's happening. And then Butters starts crying. And it goes to a commercial break.
That is amazing. No, as kids, what we did up here, we used yellow wiffle ball bats as lightsabers. Because we couldn't afford lightsabers, and this is around the time Revenge of the Sith came out. We ended up finally getting a couple of lightsabers, but we stopped using them after a day as, like, actual, you know, we used to, like, play fake Jedi battles, and, we stopped using them after, like, a couple days because they broke really easily. Like, with the bats, you could just whack them against each other all day and they wouldn't break, but the lightsabers, they cracked, and They got messed up. So that's what we did. We used to just beat the shit out of each other with bats and think they were lightsabers. And I blame the final fight scene in Revenge of the Sith for being pretty fucking awesome. And that's why.
Yeah.
That is probably the best of the prequels.
No, without a doubt.
Dude, I remember watching that. I wasn't really big into Star Wars as a kid, and then I was watching this kid show with this host, and he basically said, "Oh, and when Anakin Skywalker turns into Darth Vader," I'm like, "Fuck you! Why'd you have to spoil it?"
What? Fuck you! Why'd you have to spoil it?
Like you didn't like you were the only person on the planet that hasn't lived in a cave for the last 30 years.
Who didn't know that Anakin Skywalker was Darth Vader?
No, I did not. Oh my god. Yeah.
The thing is though,
I was so angry. Oh my god.
Well, Ian, actually, I didn't get to finish on answering your question you asked me. You asked me if I agree or disagree with the point that I think that nostalgia can be killed. No, I don't think it can be. And I brought up Power Rangers just because, yes, the show is not that good. And I look back on it and I'm like, oh, wow, I really liked the show as a kid, but it is not that good. Does that say something about me? I'm like, no, it doesn't. Because
I'm not saying it says anything about you. I just think, does it ruin the experience for you?
It doesn't, because whenever I reminisce about the times right before school, about 8 o'clock in the morning when I would watch Power Rangers, I just remember those moments. I don't remember the show's quality. I remember how the show, and this goes back to how you were describing, my view of nostalgia and your view of nostalgia. I remember how the show affected me. I don't remember the show itself. I remember specific episodes, but I remember my viewing of those specific episodes, and that's what I'm nostalgic for. I could very easily go on Netflix right now and watch the first episode with Lord Zed in it, but it wouldn't be the same thing as going back to that mindset I had when I first saw it and feel those feelings again, which is what I do want. That's what I yearn for as a nostalgic person.
So that's the thing. You're saying that you're wanting the feelings, but when you started, you were saying you just want to go back and relive watching it.
Oh no, that's not what I meant. I apologize if I was being confusing. I don't want to go. Excuse me. Nostalgia to me is not just I remember watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as a kid. It's I remember the way I felt watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as a kid, and I want to feel those feelings again. You can't. Feelings are one of those things that they're impossible very often to recreate. And I think as a nostalgic person, I constantly try to, and you can't. It's just not possible.
Actually, that brings up something I kind of want to talk about. This kind of falls into that area. I don't know if I'd call it nostalgia, but for the sake of argument, let's. I do this a lot where there are things I think about, particularly from Scrubs, for example. There are things I think about that when I'm thinking about them, they're actually funnier than when I watch it again, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
that happens to me too. About one more.
And I'll actually describe it to someone, and it'll be funnier than when I watch it on screen. I can't think of a Scrubs example right off the top of my head now, but one that just did pop into my mind was a Kevin Hart commercial. Kevin Hart's a comedian that I think is really funny, and a friend of mine introduced me to him. And I was telling him about this commercial I saw him in, and I go, alright, so he's talking about how he has to make up arguments to distract his wife so that he doesn't feel as bad. And just like, why is the cable bill over $150? He goes, well, baby, why is Pluto no longer a planet? Yeah! And then he leaves. And I just, describing that, I find it funnier than actually watching the video. Or watching the commercial for some reason. Yeah. And I think that kind of gets at what you're saying there, Bill.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't define that as nostalgia for me. That would be me having a better memory of the delivery in my head than was actually delivered.
Well, I think that there is nostalgia in there somewhere. I don't think that you're thinking your relaying of it is funnier is nostalgia in and of itself. I think nostalgia comes in more with you remembering how you would relay those jokes to your friends and such, and they thought it was funnier than the actual thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's where the nostalgia lies. Go ahead, Milan.
Sorry, before we move on, get too far away from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I remember watching, when I was living with my mom and my dad as a little kid, I remember just having this really shitty, like no-channel TV set, and I would just sit there and watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers through static. I wouldn't be able to hear anything. all I just see like these big shadows of like these colorful ninja-like guys killing each other, and the sound would be really crappy. But I would just.
And then the KGB broke into my apartment for broadcasting colors.
Milan, Jebediah Springsteen on watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Dude, I'm serious. This was in Australia, so, colors were allowed. We just couldn't afford
Oh, okay.
We just couldn't afford them. But, yeah, so I just remember that. And some really bad stuff happened at the time, like my mom and dad broke up and just horrible things. But I still remember that feeling of, like, I am watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers while my parents argue in the balcony right next to me. Aww.
And that's the thing, I do remember that. I can remember some things. I'm not going to relay them because I don't like to get too personal about these things, since the last time I did, I was critiqued for my personal experiences not being valid enough.
Wait, what was that?
It was sometime me and Milan were talking, so... Anyway, no, it's just, I do have memories of that, of being angry at, my brother or my, family or something, or having something, like, aggravating or not good to think about going on in the house, and being able to watch TV or play a game or something and enjoying myself. And it's one of those weird things is, yeah, the memory can actually become a little bit bittersweet because you remember really enjoying the thing, but then it's tainted by what's going on in the background. Yeah, and that's the weird thing as to what exactly you remember.
Yeah, and let me ask you guys this is going to sound like a strange question. Do you guys ever have nostalgia for bad things? Like,
could you define that a little more?
Saying you yeah, sure. I'm not saying you necessarily want to go back and you yearn to experience those feelings again. Like, I'm kind of defining nostalgia, but it's a different kind of nostalgia. Like, you remember that, and you remember having these specific feelings, and I don't know, it's like this weird, like, it actually reminds me of a Watchmen quote, when, it's Sally Jupiter, right, where she's, the further away, something akin to the further away you get from the past, even the grimiest parts of it become a little brighter.
Yes,
and I think that's definitely accurate. I think that's definitely something that we as humans experience. And I think I have that sometimes with bad things. I'm not going to name examples too, but I do have that. I do look back on negative moments in my life, and I don't know how to describe it. It's just I look back on it, and you reminisce, and it's just kind of like there's a form of nostalgia there. I don't know. It's hard to describe. You guys ever have something like that?
You're nostalgic for the pain.
I don't know if it's that. It's like, I don't know. It's just those events in your life meant something to you, and I don't know. It's like you just remember them, and
yeah, they kind of
so hard to describe.
It's basically, I think I have a word. There's this like porridge, a mental porridge. Like the good things and the bad things all get mashed up in your skull, and you can't really when you look back at them from the future, you taste a porridge of memory. And there's some bittersweet things in there. There's some sweet things, and there's some bittersweet swings.
Yeah.
But in your mouth, it tastes still kind of good.
Okay, and on that tortured metaphor at best, I'm going to maybe... Hold on, never mind. Keep talking. I'm sorry. Something's going wrong over here on my end.
Sure. It's one of those weird things. Nostalgia is something that's obviously very hard to put into words. It's just kind of this abstract idea, and I think nostalgia is something that's very hard to relay to other people, and I think that our listeners will notice that as we're trying to speak with each other about it. It's something that's so personal to you that it's nearly impossible to put into words and express the same feelings to other people. I can't make you feel nostalgic about something that happened in my life necessarily, unless we shared that, and even then we're not going to have the same nostalgia. So it's just like, it's very hard to discuss. Damn it, I hate it when we have to force things to talk about.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
My bad.
It's fine, don't worry about it. But yeah, I just wanted to get across it. It's very hard to talk about, and I hope our listeners will bear with us as we try desperately to put these kind of things into words, because it is very hard to describe.
I don't know, Bill. I agree with you. It's one of those things. This gets down to, epistemology. Actually, big word. Epistemology has to do with the limits of knowledge and understanding,
And that's very much what you're getting at. Is it's hard to relate an experience. It's epistemology and phenomenology. Phenomenology, as I've said a couple times before, is the study of lived experience. That is almost impossible to relate without doing something to make the other person go through that experience, which is a pain in the ass to do in and of itself. So, sorry.
It's fine.
So, to make someone relate to that when you're talking about something that's already complicated, to make someone to relate to something that has to do with epistemology through a phenomenological method is so hard to do, and I don't even know if there is a right way to suggest. So yes,
no,
you are dealing
it's
with
definitely
a very complex problem.
Yeah, there's definitely not a right way to do it. I think that there's films that accomplish, especially for nostalgia for certain time periods. Like I think, just to go back to an example I used earlier, I think the Peter Jackson King Kong film, despite obviously not being around at the time, made me very nostalgic for the 30s and the look of it and the way it felt, the way that people talked.
Oh yeah, that's strange because when films like that come out, they make you nostalgic for an era you never lived in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is like those love letters to the *60s and stuff like, or like not even necessarily an era of time, but just an era of film. You know, you got what was it that he did? You got Nolan who did a love letter to the Bond films between Batman and Inception, and I've never been a Bond fan, but I still love those movies because of their style with that, you know?
Yeah.
You got those love letters to eras and to parts of history. You got Grant Morrison in his love letter to comic books with his Batman run, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot to that.
Of course I'm going to be putting in All-Star Superman. His love letter. Well, I think mostly, let's get to comic book nostalgia now. I think the thing that really makes comic books live on is nostalgia, because artists and writers get nostalgic about the characters they read as kids, and they go into the medium and go to work for the companies that made those wonderful childhood, icons of their childhood, and they get to work on the characters they grew up with. And I think nostalgia really plays into that. They get to work on the things they loved as kids, but bringing in their own experiences and a new twist to the thing. And I think that...
And actually, there's you said you have the history of the secret origin of the DC universe or something.
Yeah,
you do have to watch that because I forget who said it, but he goes, I can't wait to read what today's generation of readers end up writing for comics.
Yeah.
And God, yes, because it gets better every generation. I don't care what people say. The golden age of comic books was not the golden age of comic book storytelling.
I know.
No,
I'm sorry.
I think when they say
this is called people call the 90s and up till the present the modern age. No, this is the platinum age of comic books, in my general opinion. There's some stinkers, but there's always going to be stinkers in a giant medium like this. The level of storytelling, the in-depth nature of stuff that goes on in this, it's incredible.
I know, right?
I think it seems a comic, and you guys can disagree with me on this if you want. I think the only reason that we've got trades with 30s and 40s and 50s DC stuff and 60s Marvel stuff, the Marvel a little bit less than DC, is because of nostalgia. This nostalgia for a certain kind of storytelling. And it's not even necessarily good storytelling, but it's just that format that makes you crack a smile. And you also have writers like Grant Morrison, Jeff Johns, who are, of course, referencing stuff that happened in the original very first comic books. But here's the thing. When you read that, it's not as good as what they did with it, very often.
Yeah, no,
like when Grant Morrison uses Batmite in R.I.P., you go back and read and watch some of Batmite stuff that's not Brave and the Bold, it's pretty shitty. But the fact that he used a crappy idea or a stupid idea and made it awesome is awesome in and of itself. And I think this is one of those cases where I would agree with Ian's point earlier that nostalgia can be killed a little bit, because it's like you look at something like Batmite and you say, I was going somewhere with this. Sorry.
The thing with
I just had a major brain. I just had a major
It's interesting.
brain fart.
You look at something like Batmite and you realize how dumb it is, but then you think about it, and to Bill's point, you got Grant Morrison, who's obviously nostalgic about Batmite, so he wanted to bring him back and reinterpret him in a modern context. And to be fair, it's not that different of a context. He's still from the fifth dimension, Grant Morrison just claims that the fifth dimension is imagination, that it's an actual existent plane of reality. Strange, but okay.
That would be a
I mean,
fucked
the
up
Twilight
dimension.
Zone said it too.
Oh, dude.
The Twilight Zone said it too.
You know what's interesting? The thing that just fascinates me is that, like, the guys who grew up in the 30s, like in 60s with Batmite, like the shitty one, and the kids now who grew up with the Grant Morrison Batmite and the,
What kid is growing up reading Grant Morrison's Batman?
well, you did,
No,
you
dude,
did.
I was like 6. I was
But
like
also,
16. I mean, that's not.
Let me
kids,
finish.
necessarily.
But also they're growing up with the Brave and the Bold Batman, who's actually funny.
Oh yeah.
And so it's better, like these old icons of like this bygone era are getting reinterpreted and getting more polished up for the new generation. And so as this generation gets older and they look back at Batmite, they see a more clean version of the thing from the 50s.
Okay, guys, I just got this working again, so I'm gonna do this now. Ready? Our very first Skype in.
Oh, cool.
Greetings, gentlemen. This is Blue Dragon 5 of YouTube. I just want to say you guys have been doing a great job, but for today's topic, nostalgia, I would hope you fellows would bring up some of the old classic shows like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. You know, things that, well, have shaped many childhoods. We discussed Dragon Ball Z, and I can only assume you guys will discuss the DC animated shows like Justice League or Batman the Animated Series. Really, taking old nostalgia and just applying it to everyday life, that'd be a topic. Like, how did it influence each of you, and how do you think it influences kids? How do you think the PSAs went? You know, like, there were a lot of PSAs in old animation, so how do you think all of that applies to nostalgia as a whole, and how you would apply it to your lives today after all those years? That's all, and keep up the great work, fellas.
Alright.
Wonderful. Mr. Are we still recording?
Yep.
Oh, well, Mr. Blue Dragon 5, I'm really happy that you, well, called in and gave us you're our first Skype in. Congratulations. I'm gonna draw you. But,
Yeah.
one thing about Nickelodeon. You mentioned to talk about Nickelodeon a little bit. And yes, I did grow up in some Nickelodeon cartoons. Most, like, Rugrats, The Real Monsters, Arnold, and what...
Real Monsters.
Oh, God. But one thing about an Arnold that really just cracked me up as a kid. You know the Russian guy who lives in the building that Arnold lives in, Mr. Kakashka?
Yeah.
You know
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, you know Kakashka means... Kakashka means, you know, droplet of shit in Russian. What?
Really?
I swear
That's
to God.
Nuts.
Oh, that's funny. I love adult jokes and stuff.
Oh my God! But
And they
one
can
more
only get away with that on Nickelodeon.
Young
Okay.
Frankenstein. It's almost as good as Young Frankenstein. You remember that woman where anytime they said her name, the horse neigh?
Yeah.
It's because her name translates to glue.
Oh yeah. We talked about this once. Yeah.
Oh my God! But the thing about Hey Arnold that I really find nostalgic is just some of the deeply kind of weirdly tragic people that Arnold meets, like the guy who lives on the building, like on the roof that takes care of the pigeons. And sometimes,
Oh, that guy was creepy as shit.
I know he was, but like the ending of just all these doves landing on him, grabbing little strings and just flying him into the air. And sometimes Arnold just meets people, just these horribly fucked up people, and there's no resolution, just this really bittersweet, not really ending, but just like, yeah, their life sucks horribly. And I think that's the thing that really made me. I like the Arnold show. I rewatch it now on Cartoon Network. Well, I mean on Nickelodeon, and it's still good. It's still really good. It hasn't tarnished in my eyes at all.
See, that's the thing. The 90s were a great decade for animation as far as kids shows went. You had Ren and Stimpy and Rugrats. You had, God, Our Real Monsters was fantastic. The thing is, it goes, the most fucked up, it goes, Our Real Monsters, Invader Zim, Ren and Stimpy.
Oh God, Invader Zim.
Oh,
I love it.
Oh,
and I still do. It's still funny because it's not kids' humor. That's the thing is, those were not made to be nostalgic. Those were made to be good.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
The thing about Invader Zim, I really wanted to watch Invader Zim, but at the time it was on, I couldn't get any clips on YouTube of it. Just AMVs and like fan art and shit. But now that I actually got Nickelodeon and I'm watching Invader Zim, I'm not seeing it from a nostalgic point of view. I'm just seeing it like, oh my god, this is so creepy, and I just love Jonan Vasquez's shit. He also does this comic book called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, which is basically, if you think Invader Zim is fucking dark, Johnny the Homicidal Maniac is fucking horrifying.
Well, what I liked about Invader Zim was the way they cast that show was, okay, in order to get a part on the show in the audition booth, you have to scream. And they hired people based on their screams. But we've talked about Invader Zim before, so I don't want to get too much on that. You mentioned Justice League. That's still good. I still love that show. I still go back and watch some of it every couple of years. That was the one I remember really enjoying throughout the entire time, because it has my favorite design of Batman as far as animation goes. It has some of the best stories because it has that where they could overarch and do stuff. Now, to be fair, there are some stupid ones that are just purely fan service. Okay, whatever. But there's a lot to that show that I really do love.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I'm nostalgic for the whole DCAU line. Like, I grew up watching Batman Beyond, Batman TAS.
Oh, dude, I remember watching Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, and in Australia it was uncensored. So you saw Joker bleeding and she was stabbing.
That's cool, because I never saw the uncensored version until years later. Like, I didn't see the uncensored version, I think, until like 2010 when I got it on DVD.
Oh my god.
No, I saw the uncensored. I don't think I ever saw the censored version.
You mean the one where Joker falls into like this water and gets electrocuted? You only saw the one where he gets shot?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I never saw the censored version.
You see,
oddly enough.
Yeah, and I always thought that was a pretty fucked up ending, even as a kid. And then I watched the uncensored version. I'm like, if I saw this as a kid, I don't know what would have happened to me. But yeah, that was actually the first Batman Beyond thing I ever saw, was Return of the Joker. And then, of course, I went back and watched the series. With Beyond, it was like, I do have this very specific nostalgia for Beyond, where it was like, I always had to watch it late at night for some reason. I don't know why.
It was always on at night for me in Australia. It was
but I was renting it on VHS. Because when I watched it on TV, VHS. it was on in the morning. It was on typical cartoon time. But I was just renting everything they had on VHS, and I always watched it at like what was late for me back then was like 9:30 at night. So I was always watching Batman Beyond. I don't know why, but it was like blasphemy for me to watch Batman Beyond when it was light outside.
Oh, totally.
I don't know why.
Oh god, it was so good. I just love that kind of. It's what the 90s thought the future would be like, but awesome.
Yeah. Also, Terry McGinnis.
Well, I mean, the future in that isn't too far off. I mean, you could use some smaller cell phones and maybe some more tablet tech, but honestly, that's not too far off.
I mean, the credits thing. I mean, that's not that far off. I mean, they're basically debit cards. I mean,
yeah, disposable debit cards, which is interesting. This kind of off topic, but whatever. It's a tangent, and here on Sid Part 2's channel, we embrace the tangent. Did you ever see Ultraviolet, where she had a disposable cell phone that was literally made out of paper? You could go buy it from a machine, like a vending machine.
Wait, where was this?
Ultraviolet.
Oh yeah, I watched that movie.
I have not seen it.
It's basic. Think Resident Evil, the same chick doing exactly the same thing, but with guys in gas masks.
Fair enough. I just remember that section of it with the disposable phone that was literally made out of paper, so you could rip it in half and throw it away.
That's hilarious.
It was neat. I think there's actually kind of a market for that.
Let's
say just a $5 cell phone that you can make 4 calls on and then throw it away.
Dude, I think one more thing before we move on, past Batman Beyond. The reason why I'm so fucked up, why I like latex so much, is because of Batman. You guys know that character of Ink?
Yeah. Oh god, Ink.
Oh,
yeah.
Remember that episode where she captures Batman, she has him tied up, and just says to the old Batman to come, to Bruce, come here and rescue him, and Batman's like,
and
no,
then he beats the shit out of her.
And and then she just freaking kisses him, and it's like, why? I mean, as a little kid, just sitting there watching this, like, why do I get this weird feeling inside of me? Why do I want to see cute Asian girls in latex? Batman.
You see, Ian, this is why we don't let him tell personal stories, because this is what happens.
Now everyone's disturbed. No one, like, everyone's just sitting in their room, like, all awkwardly now.
Dude, Batman and the corruption of children sexually has been with Batman for years, man. Batman is made to corrupt the youth.
Fair enough. No, but like, let's move on from.
If you play chicken long enough, you fry.
Oh my god.
Oh god, disturbing images now. But let's kind of go away from that a little bit. So he was talking about the TV shows and stuff, and we kind of already talked about how nostalgia has influenced us. I think more indirectly for myself than Bill, who seems to have been very aware of this is what made me want to be a filmmaker. This is what influence it's had on me. I kind of just pick and choose from every little thing. The thing I'm most nostalgic about, the more I think about it, is stand-up comedy. Watching it at my dad's house at, like 9, 10 o'clock on a Friday night after I'd drive up to Michigan with him. And, Comedy Central just used to play a 4 or 5 hour block of stand-up on Fridays. And it was, I remember all the acts so well, but I don't remember any of the names. I grew up on stand-up comedy acts like that. I'm not sure if, I probably will be the only one to remember this one. I don't even remember the name of the show, but they were time travelers. And here we go. They had to go fix history because things would just fuck up without them.
Is that?
But they were terrible at it.
Time Squad, I think.
Yes, thank you. Oh my god,
I love that show so much.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Like the big dumb.
There was a little nerdy kid with glasses.
A gay robot.
There was a guy kind of like Johnny Bravo in space, and there was a faggot robot.
Oh my god.
That got a little dark, sorry.
Oh my god, but it's a gay robot. I love that show so much. Oh my god. Ivan Terrible.
The Edgar Allan Poe episode where they go back and Edgar Allan Poe is like this queen that just loves, like, he's writing about rainbows and puppies and shit, and they burn down his house, and that's what makes him all depressed.
Oh, dude, remember Ivan the Terrible? And he's like a fucking dog. Oh my god, that's what's his name, like Sabaka, the dog. He used to bark at people, and it's funny. Like, it was kind of silly, but I like the Napoleon one.
I don't remember Napoleon.
Oh, basically, he's just like he's basically stuck at home, and his wife just keeps beating the shit out of him. I want to go conquer other countries. No, look after the children. It's funny. Yeah.
I like time travel, and that might be where it's rooted. I still think it's rooted in the 2001, 2002 movie, The Time Machine. Because whenever I think about time travel, it's the very first thing I think about. And I guess I'm nostalgic about that, because it's one of those things, I admit it's not a good movie. It's not, let me rephrase that. It's not a great movie, but it's not necessarily bad. It's just kind of blasé. But I still love it for some reason. And I don't know if it's nostalgic or not.
I remember watching that as a kid. Well, not as a kid, but as a young teenager also. It's funny enough, when I first watched Hellboy 2, and I thought, like, wait a second, is the Time Machine and Hellboy in the same universe?
I wouldn't put it past it. It does kind of have the same color palette and stuff. It just has that same color palette. A lot of the characters.
I can see that.
The main bad guy looks like an elf. The main bad guy looks like an elf from Hellboy 2.
Fair enough. For some reason I just like that movie, and I'm waiting. I joined the Geeks United Club, and Cap owes me, a Rewind United episode on the Time Machine from 2002. And I'm just excited to see that, because maybe he'll pick out why I like that movie. It's one of those things, just like Van Helsing. I know it's not good, but for some reason I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I have that with a lot of things too. I think nostalgia is a big part of it. I don't know. It's hard to pick out examples with it. One that's coming to my mind, and I actually probably could find things I legitimately, objectively think are good about it. I have that with Jurassic Park 3.
Oh God.
And you know what? It's just first and only so far Jurassic Park movie I've seen in theaters. I was huge. Obviously, I don't think there was a kid out there who wasn't into dinosaurs at some point in their life as a kid. And obviously, I was a big fan of Jurassic Park, and I also always loved Sam Neill as Alan Grant. He was like this inspiration for me to like. There was a time in my life when I was a kid when I wanted to be a scientist, like a study dinosaurs and shit, but who didn't? And especially with the.
Then you find out there's math. And you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah, and then I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna make movies about people who get eaten by dinosaurs. And that's the wonder of filmmaking. Anyway,
and that's why, Bill, you're gonna get all famous for making the best Godzilla movie ever, and I'm just gonna play that clip I'm gonna make a 10-hour video of that clip, and then I found out I had to do math, so I was like, fuck it, I'll just make videos about dinosaurs.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh my God.
That's the whole thing for me becoming a filmmaker. I would just go out and do all this shit, but it's so fucking hard.
Oh my God.
I mean, damn it, if I want to study biological mutations, I gotta learn, DNA and shit? Fuck that. I'll just make a movie where a bomb blows up and a crab gets mutated and attacks a Japanese city. Why not?
Well, let me just comment on that real quick. I think the best sci-fi is stuff that's rooted in either real science or ideas a lot of people have had.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that for sure.
For example, Limitless is a movie in which, it's based completely on a myth, one of those fake little scientific myths because someone took a quote out of context. We only use 10% of our brain, but this drug allows me to use 100% of my brain. No, you use 100% of your brain. You only use 10% at any one time. Alright? So, anyway,
and if you use 100%, you would probably explode from sensory overload.
Yeah, that's the thing, but it's a really great concept for a sci-fi film, or light sci-fi, let's say, because it has, it's based on an idea we've all had. What if I could just think of everything at a moment's notice the way I can think of things I know like the back of my hand, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing is that with sci-fi like that, where it's kind of based on a real idea, it's more of using that idea to talk about a character, or a scenario that you could relate to. It's not it's not the scientific facts of this guy using 100% of its brain. It's what happens to this guy after that becomes available to him. And I think that's the core of sci-fi.
Yeah, and I think Jurassic Park works on that same way, because we've all thought, man, what if dinosaurs could come back with what we know about science? What if there was a way to bring them back?
Yeah, and
that being said, we're not too far away from that. Unfortunately, we can't do it in the way in which Jurassic Park outlined it, because DNA dies after a certain amount of time, even after it's been fossilized. There's no way to bring it back. That being said, there's a company in Japan or China, one of those two, working on cloning a mammoth.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And, my cat is trying to attack me at the current moment. Sorry about that.
Just be lucky that it's not a clone saber-toothed tiger.
You never know, it might be just a little one.
Oh yeah, that's what Simba is. He's a clone saber-toothed tiger who purrs a lot and jumps all over me and rubs against my face, and hasn't bitten my face off yet. Anyway, so yeah, Jurassic Park 3 is one of those cases where it's not that great of a movie when I go back and watch it now, but there's still something about it. I look at it and I'm like, I remember sitting in a movie theater watching the scene where the T-Rex and the Spinosaurus beat the hell out of each other.
See, I remember watching that movie in the theater and being very underwhelmed because it feels like I think I've seen that movie 3 times, ever, right? And one of them was in the theater, and I specifically remember, man, that felt short.
Yeah, it is a very short movie, and my biggest problem with it, just objectively, because I am planning on reviewing all the Jurassic Park films soon.
Jurassic-a-palooza.
Yeah, I would.
Anytime Bill reviews anything, I'm just gonna call it a palooza, even if it's not like a month. Just like, I'm gonna review this film. This film a palooza.
I'm gonna review all of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air Palooza.
No, but
Where
the
did
thing
you
with
see
Jurassic
it?
Wait, hold on. One thing, real quick.
Did you
before
see it?
go on.
Stop. Okay.
Go on, mute your microphone.
please.
Okay, he's gone.
One thing, real quick, Bill. Bill, say I'm gonna review Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I'm gonna review Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Palooza. Okay.
Oh, you know what's funny? Ian Fleming, who wrote all the James Bond books, wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and I'm doing Bondapalooza. Isn't that hilarious?
A little bit.
Anyway, so Jurassic Park 3, it feels a lot like the pilot for a Jurassic Park TV show.
Yeah, I think it was.
No, it's not, but because that's unrealistic to think that that could happen unless it was animated. Yeah, it's like,
Oh, guys,
okay,
guys,
we're
one
gonna
thing.
bring back Alan Grant, and he's gonna go to Isla Sorna, and he's gonna see all the dinosaurs that didn't make it to Jurassic Park, and then they're gonna get off the island. And then we deal with what happens afterwards. It feels like the pilot for a TV show. Go on, Milan.
One thing before we move on, since you're a big Godzilla fan, have you watched like the 90s Godzilla animated show, like the American one?
Yes, I have. I've
Love it.
Again, that's another thing I have a lot of nostalgia for. I did a review of it, and I talked about how, as a kid, as a monster movie fan, as a kid, that was my my nirvana, because it's like you're watching a show every week where there's a new monster, and you're watching a monster who bears a closer resemblance to Godzilla in the movie version. He breathes some semblance of an atomic blast. He's a little bit more indestructible. He stands a little bit more upright. It's a show where it's like I have better memories of it than I do when I watch it now, but it's not bad. It's pretty good for what it is. It's just that it has bad source material.
Can I say this about 98 real quick?
Oh God, what?
There was a shot, not just real simple, to give the movie some credit. There was a really cool shot in that where Zilla's hanging off, I believe it's the Empire State Building, and the lightning strikes in the background, and he's like roaring. I thought that was a really great shot.
Yeah,
but there's a great meme for it where it goes, "Look at him, he's humping a building."
Fair enough, but I just thought it was cool looking.
It is. It's a cool.
Because I watched it a couple months ago, just out of boredom.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit that movie has really good visuals for the most part. It's just that everything else about it sucks. Anyway, so off of Jurassic Park and Godzilla, what else did Blue Dragon 5 bring up?
I was just talking. You mainly wanted us to talk about animation, animated TV shows. We talked a lot about Nickelodeon, or we talked a little about Nickelodeon, a little about Cartoon Network.
Well, I didn't bring up the Nickelodeon shows I grew up with, because you guys are older than me, so there's some shows that I grew up with. I don't know if you guys grew up with, per se.
Yeah, what was it?
Danny Phantom.
Ooh.
I watched little bits and pieces of that. My problem with that show is it's more Fairly Odd Parents and not enough Justice League.
I completely agree with you.
It should have been more like a serious superhero show with a little bit of humor here and there, because it's a great concept. Because besides Deadman, there are no superheroes that are ghosts that spring to mind immediately.
Yeah, and Danny Phantom has a really great... Well, the Spectre's a little hit and miss, but...
well, no, he's not really a ghost. He's a spirit of vengeance. He doesn't it's not the same kind of thing of ghost that Deadman and Phantom were.
Yeah.
They were literally, they had the abilities of ghosts. The Spectre was more or less a god.
Yeah, he was a lot more of a Grim Reaper type character, and the thing with Danny Phantom is, I'll agree with you, the only problem was when I was a kid, I was also watching Fairly Odd Parents, so...
No, I
didn't
Fairly
bother.
Odd Parents. That's the thing, is I couldn't take Danny Phantom seriously, but it tried to introduce drama, and that doesn't work.
I agree with you, and I actually went back and watched it recently because it's on Netflix.
You can't introduce drama when one of your main supporting characters is Cosmo, but the fat, tall version in an orange jumpsuit. You know?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, The Odd Parents is great. There's some fantastic jokes in that will always be funny. Just some of the shit that his parents had to be the most irresponsible bastards on the planet. More so than the Simpsons, than Homer, and much more so than Peter Griffin, okay?
Oh no, they're not as bad as Peter. Peter's pretty fucking terrible.
No, these people were terrible to their child. They would, verbally abuse him to his like just in front of him and in front of his friends, they would just openly insult him for wearing a pink hat and stuff. And then they go like, there was one where they're like, God, I wish I had a daughter. It's like really fucked up shit.
Yeah, and then also there was an episode where he actually wanted them to care less. And it was like, so you want them to die, basically.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness.
And also they don't have real names.
They're just mom
And
and dad.
there's actually this funny episode I remember watching as a kid where all these characters in literature come to life. And Sherlock Holmes comes out of a book and he's talking with Timmy's parents, and he starts deducing all this crap about them, and he's like, and your real names are, and then they cut.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. No, but I grew up with Danny Phantom. I grew up with Fairly Odd Parents. I kind of grew up with SpongeBob, but SpongeBob was one of those things where I grew up with the people who grew up with SpongeBob, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I didn't like SpongeBob that much.
I was not a SpongeBob fan. I watched it just because people my age were required to watch SpongeBob when it first came out. It was like you have to watch SpongeBob to be a part of this generation.
One thing,
I know the Rip Pants joke. I know some of the Krabby Patties stuff like that. But probably after the second season of SpongeBob, his voice just got so annoying to me that I couldn't watch it anymore. I could not stand SpongeBob's voice.
Oh, and, in modern day, it's just we talked about this on the last podcast. It's just fucking weird. There's a shot that convinced me to talk to my cousin about not letting her daughter watch SpongeBob anymore or at least the new stuff, because there's a shot where you see SpongeBob as a fetus inside his sponge mother's womb.
That's creepy.
It is fucking disgusting.
Oh my god.
And something that I'm nostalgic for that is still good? Looney Tunes.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, Looney Tunes just keeps getting better.
No, it
doesn't.
have
you guys seen the new show at all?
No, I don't mean the new stuff. I mean whenever you go.
No, but
the old stuff. Okay, thank God. Because if you said you liked the new shit, I would have killed you.
No, I haven't.
No, have you seen the new show?
No.
Oh, good. The new show, it sucks.
No, it doesn't. The new show is actually really funny. Here's the thing. Daffy Duck. All right, this is my go-to scene for the new show. Daffy Duck is at the mall, and he is ordering frozen yogurt.
Hello.
And he asks for basically every single topping they have on top of the frozen yogurt.
Hello.
And the person by the counter is, rushing, trying to get all the toppings in the order in which he's saying. And it's like this giant fucking, bowl of frozen yogurt with a million toppings on it. And he goes, okay, that'll be $16.50. And Daffy's like, I only have 35 cents. Take the rest out of your tip jar.
And that's why I would hate Daffy Duck if he was a real person, because I get those kind of customers constantly.
But it was legitimately funny. The thing is, the new show's doing different things. Alright, Daffy also had to go to his high school reunion. And he was going to lie to people about what he's been doing with his life since high school. So he's going, oh, I've been an astronaut. Or, oh, I'm a Texas soil man. Oh, I'm a quarterback. I'm Batman. He's going through all the different costumes. It was brilliant. The new show is surprisingly good. I see the commercials for it, I saw the commercials for it, and I expected it to be terrible. But then when I watched it, I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
One thing, on the verge of Batman, let's talk about the Justice League cartoon.
We did.
But the thing is about that, me and Ian have been complaining about the fact that Superman sucks in that show. But the thing is, at first, yeah, he sucks, but the fan and goes that, in the previous, Superman series, he got hit by a kryptonite missile by, Lex Luthor or something, and that's why he looked all old and crappy. But as the series went along, Superman basically in the 90s Superman show, basically at the very end, he got hit by a kryptonite missile, and then he fought Darkseid.
The very end of the 90s Superman show is the last fight with Darkseid.
But I've seen every episode of that show. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, but basically, he gets. That's the whole reasoning that why Superman sucked at the first part of the Justice League cartoon. But by the middle and the end, he redeems himself. And I'm like, yes, Superman finally rocks.
Well,
I don't mind. Let me put it this way: I like what they did with him in that they kept it consistent. You know, it was always an electric shock that could throw him off if he wasn't expecting.
He's a very I heard Bruce Timm describe it as he's a lot closer to Fleischer's Superman, who could be easily hurt by things, than the comic book version. Because in the first 2 seasons, he loses his powers every other fucking episode in Superman TAS. I mean, it's just like, you can tell they were struggling to give it the same kind of drama that Batman TAS had. Like, he loses his powers at a ridiculous amount, at a ridiculous rate. It's crazy. Or he gets captured somehow.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you really have to write Superman in a different way than you would a character like Batman.
You can't take the same approach.
Yeah, you can't, like, it's challenging for him and he has to overcome it. No, it has to be challenging for him to do it because there's too much to do. You know? Like, that's the thing, no one has told the story where Superman has to, and this is something we keep bringing up every time we talk about this character for some reason. No one's told the story, at least I've never seen it, where Superman has to make the judgment between saving a woman who's about to fall off a building in Metropolis, or flying to Africa and stopping, you know, a child from being murdered. You know,
it's been done. There's an episode of...
I haven't read it then.
Yeah, there's an episode of Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, where they talk about that. It's actually not Superman, though, who deals with it. It's there's an episode where... That show was really stupid, and there's this episode where Lois and Clark... This is after she knows he's Superman. Lois takes his powers and becomes Wonder Girl. Anyway, so there's this part where Clark is sitting at their house waiting for her to come back, and she comes back crying, and he asks her why, and she's like, she was dealing with a terrorist attack in some place, but she could hear a mudslide killing people in Greece at the same time.
Yeah, and like there's no right decision to make, but it's just one of those things. Like, no one's done it in a good way, or in a serious way that I've seen.
Yeah,
and it's a pain in the ass choice to make an animation because it's got to usually be for kids. I just think it's something interesting worth bringing up because you got to think about it. Every time he's sitting there talking to someone, with as much that's going wrong in the world, how can he justify that? But at the same time, of course, he has to justify it because, end of the day, he isn't a god. He's a man.
Mm-hmm.
With incredible power.
Yeah, but he was raised by people, so he is still a person. He's just a person with extreme powers.
Mm-hmm. And so it's one of those weird things. It's like, you can't... It's a double-edged sword. You can't expect him to be able to save everyone in the world at the same time. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, how does Superman make the value judgments? So that's how you have to write him, you have to work in Superman's morality. And Superman's not a character I would want to write. Superman is not a character I would want to write extensively.
I would love to write Superman. I would
like to write a Superman graphic novel.
I would not like to write him extensively.
No, I wouldn't want to write a monthly. Then again, I wouldn't want to write. I don't know. I don't think of myself as someone who could jump onto a pre-established character and write a monthly. I have ideas for comics I'd like to write as monthlies, but they're characters I've come up with. I would love to do a mini arc on the Hulk, but it would be just that. It'd be like a 6-issue arc, and then I'd leave. Love to do an arc on Batman, but it'd be short. I can't see myself doing these long runs. Like Peter David's run on the Hulk took like 10 years. I couldn't see myself doing that with like Batman, Hulk, or whoever. I would write graphic novels and little mini story arcs, and say what I have to say and leave.
See, I could do an ongoing with Batman, just because there's some things that, believe it or not, I don't think have been done with the character, or at least not well. Like, no one's done a really good story approaching the whole, how can you justify sending them there if they're just going to get out? Well, no, actually, you see, Bruce Wayne pays for a lot of this treatment and funnels a lot of money into Arkham Security and Arkham Treatment. It just doesn't work on a lot of the big names. So someone needs to tell that kind of story.
Like him actually helping, some minor villains like Calendar Man and just stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, all right, here's my go-to example.
He helps the smaller fish, but the bigger fish can never be cured.
Here's my go-to example. When was the last time you heard about Crash and Burn?
Sorry, what was that?
When was the last time you heard about the villains Crash and Burn?
Never.
Exactly, because they were in one issue, they got locked up in Arkham, and they never escaped, and apparently they don't exist anymore. But they never got out.
And then Grant Morrison will bring them back into continuity and do something awesome with them.
Well, no, actually, their story was kind of awesome. It was a bit of a Bonnie and Clyde thing.
Oh.
It was all narrated by it was one of those stories where it was narrated by the villains. And the girl is the narrator, and she keeps bringing up this one line that is just, die young, leave a pretty corpse. Woo! That's quite a philosophy. That's a way to live right there. Die young so you can leave a pretty corpse. Well then, let me know how that works out. But it was one of those things that they've never come back. Probably because the writer that created them never wanted to bring them back, or that no other writer was interested in bringing them back. But my point does remain valid there. They've never gotten out, so either Bruce Wayne's security funding worked, or, you know, they were cured. Right?
Wow, that was some tangent.
There's
sorry.
actually,
Yeah.
there's actually like a mini story by Paul Dini in his like Batman Dark Knight Detective. Basically, it's basically you follow this guy who's like a janitor at a school, right? And he used to be like this hoodlum, and he was like doing something really bad, and then Batman basically caught him. So you turn a new leaf, I'm gonna be watching you, and he did. And the comic book ends, the issue ends with him just laying in bed with his cat. I'm terrified of him because I know he always looks at me, so he's looking at me. But at the same time, I gotta thank him. You know, you turn me around through fear, and you just pan out, and he's like he monologues in his head, like I've turned over a new leaf. Thank you, Batman. And there's a shot outside his window, and Batman's just sitting on a rooftop looking at him with binoculars, and then he just knocks his name, like he checks his name off a list.
Oh, that's cute.
It's like My Name is Earl, but with Batman.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem with that, though. There is no conceivable way Batman could do that for all the people he tells that to.
No
way. Even for Batman, there's no conceivable way.
I know, but maybe he just does that with some of the minor, in the middle guys.
Yeah, I'm sure, but it's one of those things, it's a cute story, but once you think about it, there is no conceivable way to make that happen.
Of course. Dude, I just got 224 subscribers.
Congratulations, it's all because of the gay test video, so feel bad.
I know, I know. Oh my god. But anyway,
it's okay, Milan.
Oh my god, dude, I'm getting 16 comments on that video every hour now. It's terrifying.
Did it get featured on a website? Is anyone saying blah blah sent me here?
No, I don't know. It's just every day a comment is left. It's like, what the hell? Why is this so popular?
Because
you're
it's
questioning
the gay test.
people's sexuality.
Well, no, I remember that happened to me a while ago. My friends were playing Madden, and there was just this crazy play that shouldn't have worked, even though it was on the hardest difficulty, and it was just complete computer fuck up kind of thing. That was it was like a push on the 4th down, and it was able to complete the play and get to the get to the next first down, right? And we posted is the shittiest quality. It's one of my earliest videos, recording the TV bad, right? And for some reason they got I think 1,200 views because somebody put it on a website. Just one of those weird things. Milan, I guarantee you it got featured on a website. Go look at the video analytics, and I guarantee you it's on somebody's website.
Probably.
Alright, I will.
Yeah, that's happened to me before.
But anyway, no, back to nostalgia.
Oh, good.
I think it's about time we wrap up.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Actually, one more quick question, and you guys can answer this quick if you want. I mentioned earlier about us being reviewers and how nostalgia plays into reviews. Do you think nostalgia should play into a review, or do you think that should be something that should be left out to remain objective, or do you think nostalgia should be brought up to get in every possible viewpoint in a review? So what is your guys' view on nostalgia being brought up in reviews and factoring into an overall opinion on a film or whatever?
I think that all depends on who's reviewing the thing. If it's just somebody who never played the thing and just judges it on its own merit, then that's fine. But if it's a guy reviewing something from his childhood, and like, that's fine too. It all depends on what kind of a perspective you want to have on the project.
See, I think, I didn't want to have to do this quick, but, I think it's a matter of, you should remain objective. It depends on how serious your reviews are.
Yeah.
But for me, if I was reviewing something that I was nostalgic about, I would remain objective with it, but I'd also say, now that being said, I still like it because of this nostalgic factor.
Yeah,
yada yada yada.
I agree with you. I brought that up constantly in my Godzilla Palooza, and it's one of those things where it's like, I like to put my own personal spin when I do a review. I like to be personal when I do a review. I don't always like to just be speaking in the third person about a film. I always like to insert a little personality, and I think nostalgia is one of the greatest ways to do that. Yes, I always try to be objective when I look at something, when I review a film or a game or a comic book, but I'm also like, but here's my personal spin on it. This happened when I reviewed it. Or no, this happened when I watched it or I read it for the first time. Like, I brought this up and I talked briefly about R.I.P. in one of my videos. I talked about the vacation thing. And I always am quick to point out, though, that I don't want this to factor into necessarily my overall assessment of it, but here's just my own personal spin on it, and here's how I personally assessed it. But if you don't have nostalgia for it, then I would say blah, 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 but then I would say the same thing as Ian. So I agree with you, Ian.
Yeah, like, I think, okay, now objectively, yes, the animation's bad, and yes, the storytelling is horrible, and yes, it's just a way to sell toys, but Street Sharks was a really fun show for a kid, because it just looked cool, and it was harmless. You know, none of it was something that you could try because you were a kid and you had no access to any of the things going on in that show.
Yes, I've never, like, I only seen, like, as a kid, I just remember getting this old VHS tape of Street Sharks. Like, I remember renting it, and I like 2-3 episodes, but it was really bad quality. Another thing, nostalgia, fucking VHS tapes. God damn it, man.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I love VHS tapes.
Yeah,
really?
They're hipsters. They're the VHS is hipsters' wet dream.
Yeah. Do they have shitty quality? Yeah, but I love the shitty quality.
Yeah,
I just dig it.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's just, I remember watching that like 2 episodes of that show on one VHS. I'm like, this, and I used to have like this toy of like one of the sharks. I'm like, this is awesome and terrifying at the same time, and that's why I liked it. But I only watched like 1 episode, like 2 episodes of it. I'm like, yeah, it's Street Sharks.
Jawsome!
Jawsome, yeah!
Oh, God.
And I remember that
that
they were,
needs
like,
a rated R game reboot where you just rip apart street gangs as sharks.
Oh,
that would be amazing.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what they should do? Like you know that like 2003 dark, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon?
It's not really all that dark, Milan.
I know, but they should just have that format and just have them meet up and just kill each other.
I actually
there was a crossover at one point, and the Street Sharks did get canceled because they crossed over with it was the same basic concept, but instead of sharks, it was dinosaurs, and so those two just teamed up, and it became its own show.
Wait a minute, what was that again? What was the show with the dinosaurs? Because I know it. I
don't remember the name of it.
Dino. It wasn't Dino Riders.
Dino Squad. Hey guys, do you remember that show where basically it was this really weird show where basically just dogs, but they have the bodies of like commandos, but their heads are like of dogs.
No.
Yeah, it's like
not
that.
I know.
Not even kind of.
Like their bodies are drawn like G.I. Joe realistic, and they just have like the heads of dogs and tails. I'm like, what the fuck?
Actually, Bill, I just thought of something that you were talking about earlier, and I wanted to bring up. Do you know how Fairly Odd Parents came around?
No.
Really? Because there was this old show on Nickelodeon. It was kind of like, imagine kind of a prototype to Robot Chicken, only with different styles of animation and stuff. And it had, you know, hosts who were like in a comic book kind of thing. And they would flip pages, and then the new animations would start, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Fairly Odd Parents started as a short on that show.
Oh wow, that's weird.
I can't even remember the name. I remember watching
Girls.
Really?
Yeah, they started
Yeah,
out as a
Powerpuff Girls was it was like a college thing.
So was Adventure Time. Oh my god.
No, it's just like it's one of those weird things. It started as just a short little thing on this regular Nickelodeon show. I don't even remember the show that it started off on. Kind of like The Simpsons. I can never remember the show that's a spin-off of, quote unquote. Yeah, that made me think about it. It's so weird that you don't know the origin of it.
Well,
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, it's. I was young enough where it was just it was one of those things that was on TV and I got hooked on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to go back to VHS for a second, one thing I have nostalgia for more often than just watching it on VHS is the commercials beforehand. Like, to go back to Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah! Oh my god! Yeah.
I still have the VHS tape of The Lost World, and there's this like old commercial for Ford cars in front of it that I always get a kick out of whenever I see it. I don't know why.
Oh wow!
Oh,
I think that was a very poor plan because I've watched some of my old DVDs. Like anytime you don't see it as much anymore. But anytime I see an older DVD and it says coming to theater soon, I'm like, they didn't plan this out very well as far as future marketing. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, for something that you want someone to own and keep in their house, you want to advertise something that's like going to be around later. So you want to just advertise the movie. Not coming to theater soon, you want to just advertise the movie. And it was like Pizza Hut commercial. That's a bad idea on the old Ninja Turtles VHS.
Yeah, one funny thing...
Because those deals aren't around forever, you know?
One funny thing is I have the old, the 90s Spider-Man cartoon on VHS, some of it, and the one where it's Spider-Man versus the Green Goblin, there's a trailer for Pirates of the Caribbean before Pirates of the Caribbean existed, and it's just Jerry Bruckheimer explaining the premise to concept art, and I'm like, this is hilarious watching it now.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
It's just a bunch of concept art of Pirates of the Caribbean, and he's talking about it like it's not, they haven't filmed anything for it yet, and it's hilarious.
You know, I'm thinking we might have to add pirates to our short list.
Oh my god. Dude, guys. I used to love Spider-Man in Russia. I know we used to. My auntie used to have a lot of DVDs of these dubbed Russian movies and of these dubbed American cartoons and movies. But this one, the thing about the Spider-Man show that really got me, it wasn't dubbed by that one guy. It was the only thing. It was the only thing dubbed by actual fucking actors. And I loved it. Oh my god. And I loved it.
Milan, it turns out, you know, they've been keeping this from you. But it turns out the entire time, the one Russian guy that dubbed your thing that you're always talking about is not really just one Russian guy. It was your uncle. And he loved cartoons so much and he wanted to share them with you, so he just tried to do the voices.
Dude,
That's depressing.
Oh my god, but guys, I love the opening for the 90s TV show. I just fucking loved it. Like,
and because the words make no fucking sense.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, radioactive Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's like radioactive.
Radioactive spider blood. That was in the theme song, like radioactive spider blood. Oh my god, that's awesome.
That sounds so fucked up. He's radioactive.
I love that shot in the opening where he has no shirt on and he jumps up and he's like in his Spider-Man costume. I love the sound he makes when he like sticks.
I love the sound effects in that show, like the web sound effect and the
See, a lot of people actually really hate that show. Interestingly enough,
because they're idiots.
No, but there are people like you, Bill, who put it on the same level as Batman TAS. But then there are people who are like, I don't think it's all that impressive. I think it's kind of blasé. I'm like, really? Interesting. I don't know where I stand on it. I like parts of it. I remember the first time I saw the first Spider-Man film.
The way you said that was hilarious.
It's exactly like the cartoon. You know?
Dude, I don't know why the way you said
Oh,
Spider-Man. was so
nostalgia,
scary.
dude, a giant
You're like,
nostalgia.
I saw the first Spider-Man. It sounds-
Sorry, I
No,
had to
it's fine. It's hilarious. It kind of
First-
sounds like you're like this old man who just said Spider-Man for the first time.
Spider-Man.
Oh my god, guys, the most giant nostalgia trip for me, the first Spider-Man movie. You guys remember? I saw it in the cinemas in Australia. Oh my god, guys.
We don't remember.
For me, oh god, guys, it was so great. The first Spider-Man movie, like oh my god, oh my god, the last scene.
Milan can't even talk. He's just too busy.
He's just orgasming over the first Spider-Man movie.
Guys,
Meanwhile, Ian and I have reviewed it on this show and said it doesn't really work anymore.
guys, I don't care. The last scene where it's just like, you know, the violins go and he's swinging through the city.
Yeah.
I felt as sitting in the dark movie theater, seeing that the music just swelled, and I'm like,
And then when you saw him go over the American flag, you're like, now I'm done.
no. I'm like, I saw that. I'm like,
No, actually, in Russia, they transposed the Soviet flag onto...
no, I saw this in Australia.
Why is
Dude,
there a Soviet flag in New York City? Shut up.
I don't know, I just find that image funny now. Now I'm gonna do it. I can totally get away with that in visual effects, too.
Dude.
I can totally make that happen. I'm doing that.
And Ian put one of those little hats on Spider-Man just in that one shot.
guys. And basically, I'm trying to make this cool, guys. And it was so great. And I felt like somebody had tasered the back of my spine, but in a good way. I'm just sitting there glued to the chair. My eye.
Oh, the worst metaphors on the planet.
But you know the
I was
goosebumps
glued
just
to the back
flow
of my
up your
chair.
body.
That's horrible.
Like, you know, when you watch it, like, I remember having these goosebumps all over my body watching the whole film. Even to this day, I'm like, yes, Spider-Man. It's a huge nostalgia trip for me. The first
same
and
here.
second movies, it's like, yes, you will
I mean,
never.
that's the movie that got me into superhero fiction. No, not superhero fiction, comics specifically. Batman TES is what got me into superheroes. The first Spider-Man movie is what got me into comics.
Guys, you know what's interesting? Like, Spider-Man is huge in Russia. Like, there's some guys like on YouTube, some Russian comic book geeks, and they're just huge Spider-Man fans.
Well, you think
Russians
it's because Peter Parker's origin lies in Russia? With his parents being
And
double agents?
Oh.
No, it's not that. It's just Russians love fucking Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. And I also remember watching the Tim Burton, Schumacher Batman movies like in Russia with my mom and cousin, and they were just like oh, look at this Batman, it is awesome. And for some reason I can't get my mom to watch the Nolan movies because all of a sudden she's like, oh, but the Batman is scary. You watched him like when you were in Russia. What the hell's wrong with you? Oh god. Yeah.
Alright.
Milan,
Yeah, I don't know,
have you
I
ever
like-
seen either the motion comic or Superman Red Sun?
I have. I love
Have
it.
you? I bet you just love the image of Batman as a Russian with one of those hats becoming the cowl.
Oh my god, I love that.
See, here's what I don't get about that premise. How does Superman landing in a different part of the world translate to all the heroes becoming Russians?
Yeah, it
suddenly?
doesn't make any sense. Well, Wonder Woman makes sense because she's the same character, just she got affected by Superman in a different way. It's like, why is Batman suddenly Russian? Doesn't make any fucking sense.
They never immigrated to America. Maybe they never immigrated to America.
Here's the thing.
Batman's Russian, bitch. Yeah.
That book was sold to me by my I had my tongue is tied. Excuse me. The guy who sells me my comic books basically pitched that book to me when I was first buying Superman because he was like, you should so read this. And I didn't read it or watch it until recently. And he was telling me that the only difference between this universe and the real the Earth 1 universe is that 12 minutes Superman landed on Earth like 12 minutes or so away from when he actually landed in the regular universe, and that's why he's Russian. And I'm like, then why is Batman Russian?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. Everything else is normal.
The Waynes never immigrated from Russia.
The Waynes are not Russian.
Yes, they are.
The Waynes have existed in America for over 200 years.
Yeah, I mean, the Old West, man.
Yeah, but they immigrated from Russia. I don't care about anybody.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
They're an old European family.
Yeah, Russian.
No, not Eastern European.
I'm thinking like maybe British, but the broader term of British, like that includes Scotland and all that.
Yeah, the family came across from the UK, somewhere in the UK, landed, and then in Midwest-ish or New York-ish, depending on your continuity, the Wayne Trading Company was established in the middle of a town square that became the biggest trading company and helped build the city of Gotham. Wayne is the lifeblood of Gotham. There's no Gotham without the Wayne family. So, in what sense they never immigrated from Russia? It doesn't make any sense, because then Batman wouldn't be rich.
Yeah, but his name is not Wayne in that story.
So is it just like another guy named Batman then?
He just becomes Batman because one of Superman's like accomplices or his comrades kills his parents, and then he's like, I shall take on the image of a bat and start a revolution.
Okay.
It's weird. Superman.
No, Bill. For the rest of the video, let's just talk in these deep Russian accents.
Okay. I see. Yes. I want to tell a story. I want to tell a story about childhood when I was outside in snowstorm and I got frostbite on tip of my dick, and I had to have my dog come along and lick it so that with the frostbite dulls the pain. It was a traumatic experience, and the next day I saw Batman TAS for the first time, and I saw Batman running across rooftops, and it dulled the pain of the frostbite on my penis. Anyway.
Dude, why is it if Milan told that story, I would totally believe it?
Oh my god. Do you really? Oh my god. There's stuff I can tell you about Russian, like medical service that will make you fucking shit your pants with fear.
Well,
no, let's not get into that.
My mom once took me to this clinic. Oh god.
No, Milan, I will cut you from the call because I've heard this story before.
No, you didn't.
Anyway,
you did not.
Ian, we're going on 2 hours. I think it's about time we wrapped up.
Oh.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
All right, guys. Alright. Any final thoughts on nostalgia?
Okay. One for me. Nostalgia is the thing that doesn't really have to do with the quality of the thing that you're nostalgic about. When you look back from the future on the past and on the things that you like, the porridge of memory and nostalgia with all the bittersweetness and the good parts get all mashed up, and sometimes it's great to taste the old sweetness again.
Mm-hmm. And that's nice. I've come to a deeper understanding about nostalgia, but it doesn't change the fact that for me, I think it's dead because you have things where you can go back and watch it, and suddenly those fond memories can kind of be ruined, depending on what exactly they were. Maybe I should refine it a little bit. If you remember it being good, you remember enjoying it so much, you watch it nowadays, there's a really good chance that you're not going to enjoy it anymore, and that can kill it for you. So that's a problem. So I think nostalgia is slowly being killed by overexposure to things from our past.
I disagree with you to a point, just because, again, nostalgia for me is the time period in which you saw that thing. And nostalgia is one of the most prevalent feelings in my life, and I don't know, nostalgia is one of those things where it's one of the sad, I'm going to get a little bit, philosophical on you guys, so I'm going to turn into Ian for a minute, and I think that nostalgia is one of life's greatest tragic drives, because I think a lot of the times, at least just for me personally, I try to recreate nostalgic feelings in my life, and it always fails, but I keep doing it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's a really sad thing, but I'll never stop doing that.
It's like you're trying to put together a snow globe, but you just keep realizing that the water keeps seeping through the glue.
Exactly, and I think nostalgia is one of the most powerful forces of the human brain and of human memory, and I don't think there will ever come a time where nostalgia won't be that powerful. I just think it'll evolve, it'll change by generation, and it'll evolve by person to person, but nostalgia will always be there in a certain form, and it'll always be one of the most powerful things over what forms you as a person.
One little thing before we end. Do you guys think that since like this generation, since if we take Ian's idea that nostalgia is dead, and people cannot be nostalgic about anything because they can just look up an old cartoon or a movie on like YouTube or something, wouldn't that mean that there wouldn't be any sort of nostalgic drive to see like the Transformers movies or the G.I. Joe movies, or even positive examples of people making like huge blockbusters of something nostalgic to get the money from nostalgic 20-something-year-olds. But if
no, because I think there's a difference between liking a character or liking a set of characters or a universe, what have you, and liking a specific thing from it. There's a difference between I like Batman and I like Batman TAS because I have nostalgia.
Exactly. Yeah, Transformers fans are going to go see Transformers movie in a desperate hope that Michael Bay is not going to direct them anymore. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a nostalgia for Transformers, it's the fact that they're Transformers fans, and I think there is definitely a difference between fandom and nostalgia.
One thing about the Transformers movies and the nostalgic Transformers fans, for them, it's the dark side of nostalgia. They go to see this movie, they want it to be wonderful, but Michael Bay, they're sitting in their seats watching this, and it's like Michael Bay just whipping them. And they want to enjoy it, but they can't because the whip is just breaking their skin and it hurts. It hurts so bad, but they want to love it, but they can't. They can't because it's awful.
Yeah, I think someone just needs to make a fan edit of all 3 Transformers movies, so it'll be about the right time, and just take all the cool action scenes, cut out the actors and the plot, and get a good sound effects suite. So you can just take out all the audio from the movie, reintroduce new audio, and then just put title cards of this happened, so this fight needs to happen, and you will have at least better movie.
Even though the action is still, at some points, uncomprehensible.
Yeah.
Incomprehensible.
Whatever. Anyway.
Incomprehensible.
Anyway, let's wrap up. Okay, guys. So next week's a review topic, and Bill, I gotta make sure you're on next week, because I really am interested in your opinion on this. We're going to be reviewing...
I feel so valued!
We're going to be reviewing albums by one of my favorite modern band, called That Handsome Devil. Now, for those of you that don't know who they are, that's perfectly acceptable. There's a playlist right here that you can click on. I'll put one in the description of YouTube videos that have all their songs on it. Once the pictures of the videos start to change, it's a new album. There's some unreleased stuff on that playlist as well. I've put the order of the playlist in the order the albums came out. And the thing is, when you listen to this band, you might not enjoy it the first time. Give it 1 or 2 listens. Give it a little bit of room, and it's one of those things that grows on you. So I think it's something that really deserves to be talked about because it's really interesting, and it's got some elements that I really want to get into.
Yeah.
So we're going to be reviewing their albums. Bill, you won't have to listen to everything if you don't want to, but just listen to the first album and try to get a couple times under your belt if you can.
Oh, for sure, I will.
Basically,
right.
That Handsome Devil is like... It's like your body...
No, Milan,
save it for the video.
Shh. Okay. Until next time, we're Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.